Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. Welcome to this week's Unconventional Wisdom on Grief and Loss. This is week 26, session 26. Since I think session 20, we haven't been doing these weekly, so it's not 26 consecutive weeks, but 26 weeks altogether.
26 episodes, as we say.
Exactly. 26 sessions. So welcome. My name is Delilah De La Rosa. I am the founder of Depth Worldwide, which is putting on the series. To my side here is Steven Morrison. He's the creator of Spiritual Workout. That is the practice that we use that is actually providing us this unconventional wisdom on grief and loss.
In an attempt to make it conventional.
Exactly. As well as the author of an extra year, Grief and Loss in the New Age.
I don't have my copy. Somebody literally just borrowed it yesterday. I don't have it here.
Well, I guess they borrowed it, but my copy's in New York because I did not do apparently the best job or the perfect job in packing everything. But that is something that is available on.
Yes.
Okay.
Technically available on Amazon. If you have an issue, contact me.
Okay. Perfect.
At spiritualworkout.com.
And much of what you will read in that book is a lot of what we talk about here. I read it for the first time back in, when was that? 2006?
Eight.
Because this happened at the end of 2005, beginning of
Correct.
2006, where Steven's partner also passed away. Yeah, he passed away. And it kind of it actually talks about what happened in the year after that.
Yeah.
I decided to put on this series because I had my own experience of grief and loss. Well, I've been having it for a while, now, but in terms of some of the most life-altering losses, it was my mom's passing back in November of last year. She was diagnosed 2024, November 4th, 2024. We're coming up on 11 months on the 4th of this month. And next month is going to be a year. She was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer in August of last year, and 2.5 months later passed away. And so we've been holding this series since late January of this year. That's when we started. But I've worked with Steven on Spiritual Workout online, and also had read the book back in 2008, reread it this time around. So it took on a whole new meaning.
A little more relevance.
And so I'm not unfamiliar with a lot of these concepts that we discuss here, that we talk about here. Wasn't unfamiliar to those concepts. And really, I credit them for really helping me have a really sage and grounded, expansive approach to this experience. And so I guess what we have been doing here has almost been like documenting my extra year with my mom. So Mom Duder, who's Steven's partner, featured in An Extra Year. If you are, that's his nickname, yes. If you guys are around, welcome. And any and all entities, welcome. Love to have you here.
Other non-physical entities interested in the project of thinning the veil between what we consider our reality and
The
quote
non-physical.
unquote the other side, non-physical. My practice, spiritual workout, is based on the idea that we are eternal spiritual beings having a human experience. And as a former psychotherapist and somebody who continues, of course, to work with people with the same kinds of issues and concerns that we all have and go to our therapists to discuss, spiritual workout takes the perspective of the being part of the human beings we are, that soul part of us. What do then the daily issues and challenges that we contend with in our lives look like from that perspective? That is really, and we use 15 concepts that will come up in the course of this conversation, I'm sure, and always do, to help us maintain that perspective. That's basically the practice.
Yes. So last time we spoke, I think it was about 3 weeks ago, and I feel like I kind of forgot what we spoke about back then, because a lot of stuff has happened. I've been applying a lot, living, applying, aligning, living,
Rinsing,
applying.
repeating.
Yes, exactly. And these last couple of weeks were really great in providing some information as to where I'm at.
Okay.
Right. So the week after we had our session, I went to Vegas to go to the big prize fight boxing match in Vegas. And I had a lot of resistance going into this trip, not because of the boxing match. I'm a big boxing fan. Oh, I have a little love-hate thing with the boxing, but for the most part, it's love, right? For the sport. Since childhood, I have a lot of like memories, and it moves me. It moves me, right? And so, but I had a lot of resistance because, since my mom has passed away, I've been feeling like extremely sensitive to other people's energy, a lot of commotion, you know. I just been really looking toward things that are soothing, grounding, more quiet.
So you went to Vegas.
Right. So there was that resistance there. And I will add that in addition to really wanting those things, that Vegas and this particular trip to Vegas was not going to, does not represent. There was also, I've been having, since I came back from New York, I've been having a lot of like strains and aches and pains in my body that has, kind of triggered, activated a bit of fearful thoughts about, health anxiety, which we know are coming from thoughts, beliefs, right? It's not just this anxiety.
So when you say health anxiety, tell people what you mean by that.
Impending doom thoughts about my health. Especially this idea of getting it checked out and getting bad news, quote unquote, right? Life-altering, unwanted news, like my mom. Now, granted, to be fair, this health anxiety, these fears, impending doom thoughts about health existed before my mom's, experience. Yet right, like her experience was kind of like one of my worst nightmares with regard to health, health and loss, right? Bad
Yeah.
health and loss come to life,
Mm.
right? So it's, it's like, a person that, at least from, at least on the surface, the appearance of good health,
Yeah.
never really some severe health complications. My mom would walk, like, she was 65, very youthful 65. A lot of people would, like, gasped when they heard of her age, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Would walk 8 miles a day, like, no problem, had more energy than I did. Okay. More gusto, like wanting to do things, was down kind of for whatever, you know what I mean? And she just started feeling unlike herself in July, just a little more out of, like, gassed, and out of breath, in a way that a lot of people, including myself, were like, oh, it's anxiety, it's sitting too much, it's weather in New York right now, it's really hot, right? Like, the nervous system, the whole, everything that people say could be
Yeah.
going on. And she was like, I don't know. And so she got some blood work done, and things came. There was this one red flag that my husband actually had, but it came out fine. And so
Mhm.
we were like trying to reassure her that, like, look, he had it too. And she was like, okay, anyway, she ends up going to the ER because it was like unbearable, the pain that she was having in her back and the fatigue that she was feeling. And that's where they first discovered the blood clots, right, in her legs and, like, in her lungs. And I was like, okay, that's not good. And then later on in the wee hours of the morning, she calls me and tells me that they found a mass in her pancreas. From there, biopsy. And then after that, it was like stage 4 pancreatic cancer, spreads to the liver and lungs. And that, the lung information, because she already got the liver information, but the lung information was just like, I'm going to faint. She literally said that. She was like, I'm going to faint. Like, what's going on? And, it was unsettling, to say the least.
Yeah.
Right? That whole situation. So I come over here in July of this year,
Mhm.
and I start having, now, just a little bit of background. This whole SI joint dysfunction, tight hip flexors, tight solar plexus is not brand new to me, right? However, when I came out here, I started experiencing newer symptoms, like a tug of war feeling in my right hip and stuff. And the first thing that kind of came to mind was like July. My mom started feeling this in July of last year. Oh my God. And then any little, like, strain or pinch or whatever where the pancreas was, I was like, what is going on here? Or if I felt like shallow breaths or something in my lung, like my lungs, diaphragm kind of thing. And I was like, grief, the lungs. Oh my God, what if something's going on? Like, I just, there's something to trying to connect the dots with what may be going on with your body,
Mhm.
and then there's the, are you doing this out of fear? Like, you're just kind of, it's just creating more
Spiraling.
havoc. It's creating more havoc.
Mhm.
Anyway, I spent probably about a couple of weeks there in July, kind of fretting a little bit, feeling at a loss, very anxious about it, because that was the thought process, was like, oh my God, what if I'm following in my mom's footsteps, And but then, after working with a couple of practitioners during our sessions, I realized that I needed to take a chill pill. And I felt a little bit better once I took a chill pill. Even everyone that I work with was like, "You seem a lot more calm." And I was like, "Yeah, I just had to take a little chill
So
pill." That was
define chill pill.
um not entertaining, not getting caught up in these anxious thoughts, these
So
fearful thoughts.
choosing
Yes.
different beliefs, different thoughts on
Yeah.
purpose for the
Letting
express
go.
purpose of feeling better. Wow, when I believe this thing, I feel a certain way. When I believe this thing, I feel a different way. So I'm going to choose to feel the different way.
There was a bit of surrender vibe as
Yeah,
well, meaning
absolutely.
like,
Being
you know
present,
yeah,
accepting,
yeah, like, okay, I have
neutral.
this strain, what am I making it mean?
Yes.
You know, what
Yeah.
am I making it mean? And, uh, yes, seeing that when I don't make it mean impending doom, I feel a lot more chill
Go
about it.
figure.
I don't want
And that feeling in our practice is
yes,
listening to inspiration is the concept, and we're learning to be guided by that feeling. That's always right. It's always correct. So as Delilah just said, if I entertain this series of thoughts and ideas and beliefs, I feel angsty and out of sorts. If I choose to believe this set of beliefs and thoughts and ideas, I feel more calm. I feel more chill. Other people even notice it. So the calm, the chill, the peaceful, whatever, all the things, that's the guidance. It's that simple. Everybody wants to make it more complicated. It's that simple. So the choice is, well, I've already know which is the truth. The truth is the one that produces the calm, aligned feeling. So I'm just going, that's the truth. And that's what I'm going to choose to believe on purpose.
yeah,
This is nitty gritty stuff. Go ahead.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. And it's a practice. It's a
Oh, yeah.
practice. There's a bit of like going back and forth between the like, what if I'm just telling myself this? Because look, I was telling my mom she's just anxious, she's just this, she's just that, and it turned out to be pancreatic cancer. Like there's a little, it was a tug of war, which was kind of mirroring this tug of war
But
that
still,
feeling.
underneath all that, you can find the feeling that
Yeah.
goes with that other thought. And excuse me ahead of time. It's just a seasonal allergy, little tickle I get here. And that's all it is. I apologize in advance for coughing in your face. Okay.
No, it's
Go
fine.
on, please.
At least I'm not thinking, oh my God, throat cancer. Like, oh God, Jesus Christ. Okay. Um, so it's a bit of practice, that I've been doing, for the last, for July and August.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally in September, as this trip was approaching, I was a little bit more in the like, you have your intention for how you want this trip to go. Because one of the big things when you're feeling unstable in your body, or imbalance in your body,
Mm-hmm.
is, for me at least, I start questioning how I'm going to fare
Mm-hmm.
in the future. The
Mm-hmm.
next day, this commitment, it makes me feel hesitant to commit to things because I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if I'm going to be able to show up the way I want to show up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just giving you the honest,
Yeah,
truth, right?
absolutely.
Um, and I know that sort of doubt, that hesitation reflects perhaps how much I believe in my co-creative abilities,
Right.
like creating my life,
Mm-hmm.
Um, and but at the same time, that's just how I was feeling,
Yes.
But right before that trip, I was just like, I just took the whole, I have my intention for how I want to feel and let the cards fall where they're going to fall. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? and I'll know what to do when it's time to do it. Like it just flow, you know what I mean? And that trip was so fun. I had, like, so surprisingly, a really great time. And it's not that I felt 100 in my body. I still felt a little bit of strain. I still experienced some contrast. As a matter of fact, there was this like the person I ended up sitting next to at the fight, right? He was actually friends with the person that hooked us up with amazing tickets, right? Like second best tickets in the house. And this is a huge fight, okay?
Yeah.
But his friend was like this knucklehead guy who was a heckler. He was like heckling like all the Canelo fans and stuff. And I was like, he was like a Boricua from Brooklyn, you know. And I can say this because I'm Dominican, okay? I'm part Dominican. So I was like, oh my God. I thought that the universe was like totally like joking with me, right? Like it was just like, we're gonna give like he's the exact personality that I cannot stand. Right?
And he's gonna sit next to you for how long?
Right next to me. Yeah. Right next to me, the whole fight. And I'm telling you, people were looking back at him because he was just like, don't look at me. Look at your boy over there fucking up, you know. And I was like, oh, But however, instead of being like, oh my God, I hate my life. Like, why is this happening? No, I actually found it comical. I thought
good. That's rising above.
I thought it was like life telling me like, look, we're going to have a little bit of contrast here and there, you know, but you're still unbothered. You're still having a great time.
Exactly.
And I feel like that trip helped me a bit with the travel anxiety, you know, like, because a big part of that travel anxiety, honestly, was not just about thinking about what things can go wrong, but especially these days, it had more to do with doubting how it's going to fare, you know, when I was going to feel like shit, you know, emotionally, physically, whatever, spiritually, you know what I mean? Like, it's like how I'm going to fare. Like, that's like a big thing right now for me. It's like doubting, feeling hesitation, and how I'm going to fare with things, you know? So I was like, I was able to be okay, you know what I mean? And then like right after that trip, we had another trip to Phoenix, you know, and it was actually scheduled on the days that I was going to have my period too, which I'm like, oh my God, I don't like that. However, smooth sailing. Like it just seemed like after the Vegas trip, I went in there. I was like, thank God we had the Vegas trip because I didn't have to unpack too much and I didn't have to start from zero. And I can go right into this other trip. And it was awesome. And I was just like, happy. Thank you more, please. Thank you, mommy, you know, for like helping me out here, you know, like just that connection and stuff. And I was just feeling really good, especially like in the second trip that I had. It was my husband's worldwide indigenous organization. They had like a conference where like all these indigenous peoples from all over the world congregated at this beautiful resort in Phoenix, Arizona, that is owned by an indigenous tribe in that area. And it was beautiful, the food nourishing. And there was this workshop that they had for, you know, healing, right? Like emotional healing. And I attended that workshop, and like one of the people leading that workshop was actually like a death doula, you know, as well. And so I just expressed like what I was feeling, you know, because in the midst of all of this, you know, I was just noticing that I was just feeling very heavy-hearted, very weepy, you know, like basically September was like a lot of winds and glimmers, right? I'm like, yes, ooh, mixed with a lot of heavy heartedness and kind of like spontaneous, like almost like an onset of a panic attack type of sensations in my body.
Mm-hmm.
I had a moment when I ran into someone that I hadn't seen since my mom passed away. And I was talking to, updating her on like, we're friendly. And I was updating her on like, my mom passed away and stuff. And her mom had cancer. She told me this like a couple of years ago. And so she was, but as I was telling her, Steven, as I was telling her these things, I did not feel verklempt. I didn't feel anything going on. I was just speaking. And even as she was emoting off of what I was saying, like, oh my God, like being really nurturing, actually,
Mm-hmm.
really, really sweet, right? I wasn't feeling that. I wasn't feeling heavy-hearted. I was just telling her what happened and how I was looking at it as like, yes, physical loss, but spiritual gain. Like, you know what I mean? Like I was doing all that. And so I bumped into her walking home. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so I left her feeling like, okay, I just told her about what happened with my mom. But as I was walking away, like getting closer to my house, I started feeling that heaviness, like accumulating in the chest. And I'm like, okay. And then I started feeling shallow breaths. Because that heaviness made it hard to breathe deeply as I'd like to breathe. And feeling that sensation of the shallow breaths and like almost like a block kind of thing, it was like this cascade of sensations, because that shallow breathing led to the rapid heart rate. Like I was getting a little like, and I was like, okay, this is, whoa, what happened? like, oh my gosh. And from that point on, when I got to the house, I told my husband, I was like, wow, like I just started feeling like this as I was walking over here. I was not feeling like this when I was talking to her. I was feeling actually pretty solid, right? Mm-hmm. But as I was walking over to my house and I got to my house, it was just like that feeling. And then I just, from there, for a couple of days, it was just really heavy-hearted, very weepy. Just like a tension in my body. When I spoke to a person on my care team, I was wondering if perhaps grief, these sensations of grief were seeming like a panic attack, like because of that, the way I felt it, right? It was like happiness to shallow breathing, which led to my rapid heart rate. Cause I was like, I don't like the shallow breathing. So this is like, getting my heart going. But then it was just like this wave of heaviness, and weepiness and like, oh my God, my mom. And just really feeling the physical loss, it seemed. Anyway, this practitioner said that, no, this is anxiety. It's not the grief producing the anxiety, whatever. And I was like, okay. Now,
did that resonate when he said that?
At first, no, because I felt so, I just, as I was experiencing that, I felt like it was this cascade, like, okay, the block here of grief, what I'm thinking, grief is leading to the shallow breathing. And that's leading to, because I'm like, I get a little stressed out when I can't breathe fully, and that's leading to the rapid heart rate, almost like feeling like onset of a panic attack, but not quite there.
Mhm.
And when I got home, I was just like so weepy, right? Um, but then when, I did realize that when I was talking to this person, she brought up like, oh, did your mom see any signs or whatever? And then she talked about how, she hasn't been feeling so great in her system and has taken so many scans and all of this. And at that point, I was like, you know what? I think that there is some truth to this anxiety thing because of the health stuff. I did set an appointment to go to get my physical this Thursday, tomorrow, actually. I did set my appointment. And so I was wondering if some of the impending thoughts, because every time I thought about getting a checkup, a health checkup,
Mhm.
I just felt, and still right now, but not as much, down about it.
Okay.
Like down about it. And I was like, the intention here is to look at these things as a form of self-care, Delilah. You're taking care of yourself,
Mhm.
Yet that's not what's living in my system right now. What the belief there is that, no, this is like the opening to life-altering bad news.
I have a question or an idea. Did you have more to say about that? I'm sorry.
I would say that the last thing that I wanted to say about that, because that's kind of been since that time.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
I did realize that, and I think I may have mentioned this to you, that yes, energetic, emotional beliefs, producing this frequency, energy, definitely a part of what's going on.
Mhm.
But I also notice that I can get very emotional certain times of the month too. I'm tracking that. I'm seeing how I'm very sensitive to the hormonal shifts in my cycle. Like I've become increasingly sensitive to that.
Mhm.
So I'm seeing that, so that's a factor too. Now, I don't know how to reconcile the, energy, emotions, beliefs with the hormonal stuff, because not to be dogmatic, but I just always saw everything as being more energy. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
rooted in energy. But yet this hormonal thing, like it almost feels like it kind of hijacks whatever beliefs or whatever is going on. I don't know. Or maybe it exacerbates it. I could see that too. All I know is that when I do take care of the energy, emotional belief work, when I do take intention work, when I do take care of that, it makes the hormonal or whatever physical symptoms feel better,
Yeah.
So there's something to that for sure.
Well, on some level, it's all connected, as you well know.
Yeah. Like maybe there's just some fundamental beliefs at work there about, health and getting older, right?
A lot of the stuff that you have entertained for many years that are part of the health anxiety family of beliefs.
Yeah. And then this experience with my mom, which is like for a person that has health anxiety.
Right. There's a perfect example of everything you do not want to ever experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was with my mom.
I know.
Too,
So
which, yeah.
I have a different idea, and we'll know pretty soon if it's a bullshit idea. Go ahead.
One last thing, because this just happened yesterday.
Okay.
And this is a great one. This is good. So this month has been bing, 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 bing. It's like, yes, 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 yes. Yes, yes, yes. That's how I can express it. Yeah. I am the president of the alumni council of my junior high school. This junior high school completely changed my life. And when my mom got sick last year, I kind of had to step back a little bit because that was all I could be present to. Yeah. Anyway, they came back around, asked me if I wanted to, resume the responsibilities, the role here, because in addition to serving as president of the alumni council, that president is now going to be serving on the board of trustees of the school. And so they were asking me if I was up for it, where I was with things, if I was up for it. And my immediate answer was yes. Listen to inspiration. Okay. Even though there were certain, I'm in the middle of this, oh my God, the health stuff and just not feeling great. And how am I going to fare? Am I going to be able to show up the way I want to show up for this? But I was like, you know what? My immediate thing was yes, so I'm going to go with it. And I told them that, And so yesterday we had our first board meeting, which is 2.5 hours. We had a 60-page packet to read in preparation. And, under regular circumstances, I would have been like, oh my God. However, I read every single word in the meeting, so attentive to every single thing, participating in a flow. And I felt so good that I was like, you know what? That this appointment that I have for my physical tomorrow felt a little bit more neutralized.
Good.
More neutralized. So I was like, you know what? There's something to applying yourself into something really meaningful for you that can take the fuel out of the unwanted, the attention, the entertaining of, being mired in the gunk of, all of the unwanted stuff, and it just made me feel like, like I said, I take a lot of pride in this school. And it just made me feel like I was also honoring my mom, because she was a real catalyst for, my making this move in my education, which completely changed my life, on so many levels, So I just wanted to add that, because that was a real win for me.
Well, it's an example of, first of all, listening to inspiration, like you said, question, immediate answer, come, not questioning it, not steamrolling over it, going with it. And then the first experience back in it, totally in the flow, fully aligned. When we're fully aligned, we're healthy, we're strong. We don't have problems. We don't have issues. We don't feel them. We don't, And so that's just an obvious example of the value of the effort that we make all the time to simply get into alignment and do whatever we need to do to stay in alignment. And when we notice ourselves getting out of it, getting back to it. And as you were saying earlier, takes some effort, takes some practice to get, oh my God, back and forth until the alignment starts to become the new default, as you know. And then it's easier and easier to snap back to it.
And let me tell you, these past 3 months, the pivoting, and especially maintaining the pivot, has been a lot of effort.
Call it a workout for a reason.
A lot of working out.
Good.
A lot of working out.
That makes me happy.
Yeah. Yeah, because if you got to put effort into something, put it in this.
Say that again.
you're going to be putting that kind of effort into something, put it into this, your well-being. Okay?
Yeah, because once you do it, it's done. You don't have to keep doing it. That's the only difference between the gym analogy. You know, at the gym, you got to keep going. You take a month off and whoops, I got to catch back up. This effort that we put in and the changes that we make, the transformations that we make. I used to be really anxious and now I'm peaceful and calm. I used to have shitty relationships and now I'm in the relationship of my dreams. It takes effort, but once the effort is done, it's done. You don't go back. That's just the way it is. Okay, I want to comment because I'm still back when you're walking home, meeting the death doula.
Yeah, this is all, wait, what?
I'm back to where you were walking after the conference, meeting the death doula.
I wasn't, what?
Were you not in Phoenix? Did you not just tell a story about?
But that was a workshop.
Okay, it was a workshop after which you had a conversation with somebody and she came to you?
That led to the onset of the panic attack? No.
I'm not, stop right there.
The death
I
doula.
thought you told me
Yes.
that you, and she came to you, oh, I'm sorry. And you,
no, that wasn't
what
that.
did I miss? I missed the whole thing then.
So that was a workshop at the conference.
Yes.
And I attended the workshop and one of the leaders of the workshop mentioned that she was also a death doula. But the person that was like, oh, that was the friend that I hadn't seen since before my mom passed.
Right. Oh, that was a whole different time.
Yes.
So I conflated those things.
Yes.
So that was before you went to the conference.
I believe so, yes.
But then at the conference with the workshop, who did you talk to after that?
I was just talking within the workshop. No.
Okay, within the workshop.
Yeah.
So the idea, the thought that I had that I wanted to run by you is that it's possible in the mix of that, because you said you were kind of fine and feeling, you know, reasonably good and told the story of your mom and right. And then the weepiness, 3 days or more of that.
That happened with the friend over here.
Okay, so regardless of who it was, I think what might have happened then is you took on a lot of other people's energy through that conversation. That was not yours, related to death and dying and grief and loss and whatever. Because when you were saying it before, and I might have misconstrued the whole thing, it sounded like that was when it happened. The way you described it, this weeping, you know, going from, you know, feeling generally okay and not
speaking to her about what happened with my mom, I was solid pretty much.
Exactly. But something in that transfer of energy, this is what happens with empathic people. We pick up energy without knowing it. And a clear sign that we're dealing with something that is beyond just ours is, wow, why am I feeling this way? I'm incredibly weepy and I wasn't a minute ago. And the weepiness is staying for a couple of days. And it's, so I'm just, you know, you're the only one who can know that. But then you went on to say several other things. Maybe it's a little of that and a little of this thing and a little of that, but nothing kind of solved it, at least in the way you were talking about it. And that's what leads me to believe that there was some unconscious exchange of energy that you just took on and walked away with, and then were carrying, that could have explained a good chunk of that.
Yeah, because this person brought up how she was not feeling great in her body and has been, you know, coming out of pocket to pay for these scans to try to find something. And then she like said a little, like really quickly, and they did find something. But then I was like, okay. And, you know,
but she's also hitting those notes that you're like,
yeah. Because she was like, you know, people say it's anxiety, perimenopause, and all this stuff. And then they did find something. And I was like, okay.
Stop talking.
But again, still feeling, you know, but then, yeah. Okay. I didn't think about that.
I did. And I know it's a little past, but you still might be able to go back and tell.
Yeah, because her energy was one of concern and also sympathy. right? But also concern about these, because she was like, did she see any signs? How did it, like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. So her own fears, in
Probably.
addition to whatever else she has going. And this is what happens. It's an unconscious thing. When we look, we're all moving around the world and we're going to bump into other energies all day, every day. That's just the nature of living here and the nature of everything being energy. And what I'm getting at right here is oftentimes people who are sensitive, people who are empathic, people who definitely are in touch with their bodies can unwittingly, 100% unwittingly pick up energies of other people in varying degrees. But a clear sign that that is what has happened is when we're noticing either disproportionate feeling in us, that it's like, well, yeah, I was feeling a little sad, but now I can't stop crying and it's gone on for 3 days, more so than it had been. Or just out of the blue, it's like, why am I feeling sad? Why am I feeling this fear? I have nothing going on in my world. And what did I maybe pick up? Now, we know in our practice, or what I do all the time with regard to that, is just tapping. Any and all energy that isn't mine, any and all energy I might have unwittingly picked up along the way. Let's just see. I think we've done that in this series along the way. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah.
It's just to let it go, let it whatever, who's ever, goodbye. And if there is any, it will lift within minutes, if not sooner.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see, okay, I just had a few extra rocks in the backpack. I still have a few of my own, but now I've at least taken a few out that weren't even mine, that I was carrying around and making me weepy or making me for 3 days when I was not feeling any of that up until then. And of course, then it gets conflated because you had some of it in you, some of that was a mirror.
Right.
And so it gets hard to tell. That's why this practice of just, let me just check. If there's any energy, if it's 100% mine, then nothing, I won't have lost anything. But if this theory is correct, I'll know in a couple of minutes because I'll feel a little calmer, a little lighter, a little more at peace.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it just, the way you were describing the whole thing, it just sounded like that might have been a good chunk of it.
Yeah. It didn't occur to me that could have been, but I could see it now. Possibly because I did notice, like energetically, I did notice this concern and sympathies, right? Like,
at the very time that you're endeavoring to not go down the rabbit hole of the concern, and then there it is,
and then she
with
starts
whatever else she's got.
Yeah, her voice saying that, yeah, people say it could be anxiety, perimenopause, and all this stuff, and it's actually something, more grave. And I'm like,
exactly
okay.
what you don't want to hear.
I mean, it did at the time, it didn't feel triggering.
That's what I'm saying. But it caught up with you not too far after that.
No, a couple of steps.
Waves and yeah, that's exactly, waves and weepiness for 3 days that didn't align with where you were before you had that conversation.
Yeah.
At least it sounds like that. So anyway, just something to consider.
Yeah, no, that's really good and a great reminder to check in on that.
Always, especially when we're feeling heavy, when we're feeling a lot of different things, when we're interacting with a lot of other people. I had a client, and she lives in close proximity with a lot of people. Everybody on one level is just fine and we like each other and we're all happy to be here. On another level, it's just a lot of stuff. Everybody individually dealing with their own stuff and everybody coming back to the same kind of contained small space and bouncing it all around. And if somebody's an empath, there's no way they're not going to absorb a lot of that. And then so much of what she talks about isn't about herself. It's about all these other people that she doesn't even know. Right? It's like, oh, this is the problem that the person I'm living with is contending with at their job. Like, well, okay, but it's not your job to carry that all on. But unwittingly, that's what happens.
Yeah.
So someone like that in that situation should be doing this every night before they go to bed. Just take that energetic shower. Just in case I picked up anything today that ain't mine, that I don't need to hold, that I don't need to take into bed and have a fitful sleep. Let's just see, let it go, let it go, let it go. 98% of the time, people feel lighter and better, which is not an indication, which is evidence that that's the issue. And it's just one of those things we don't see, or to your point, necessarily think about, because it happens unconsciously. None of us are criminals or bad people. And I say to everybody who's got that level of sensitivity, the sensitivity will serve you. It's part of who you are. And there's skills to learn to know where you end and another begins. That's just everyday good practice
That's
for a
practice. Yeah.
sovereign being anyway.
I need
And
to practice.
empaths have to do that a little extra.
Yeah, I definitely do. I do.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you for that reminder.
You're welcome.
Thank you for that reminder. One of the things that did, in addition to some of these, like, perhaps impending doom thoughts with regard to health and loss, right? I'm noticing that so two things. I still have those flashbacks of when my mom was, her diagnosis all the way through her passing. I still get these flashbacks, and they're like really, tough for me in my heart. Like, it really kind of like still activates this sorrow in me. And
how does it feel now compared to 10 months ago when you flash back?
Not, it's different in this sense. Like, it's not like nightmare flashbacks. Like, like they're not haunting me.
Okay.
Like they kind of felt 10 months ago, right? They're not haunting me. However, they do, still feel pretty heavy on my heart, because it's like it's like I'm seeing it as that was the time of I was saying goodbye to my mom. And then also thinking about how she was experiencing that too, which is in there for sure. Thinking about my mom and how she reacted, right?
Yes.
All along the way. And that still, the agony, the stuff, the fear, the resistance there. Yeah.
So you were saying about the flashbacks.
Those flashbacks,
Yeah.
They still get me. But then I'm like, wait, where my mom is now, that's long gone, distant memory. No. But it's still there. And the idea of like, we're saying goodbye, I was seeing my mom dying. And then sometimes I just get a little like taken aback that I'm like, damn, my mom died. Like, I am not going to experience her in that way ever again in this terrain, And I have a certain expectation I don't know if that's the right word, but I have this feeling that I'm not going to feel this way forever. In terms of the flashbacks and how they, what they do to me, how I react to them,
Mhm.
as well as like thinking about the saying goodbye to my mom, I have this feeling that I'm not going to feel this way forever. Or the fact that, like, she had no signs, at least, to me, that this was going. Look, I already said that I've always had this little underlying anxiety for loss. I've shared this in spiritual workout, you know what I mean? So it's not that I was like, completely like, oh my God, how can this ever happen to my, I wasn't on that end because I know these things happen, but still a little bit of shock that,
Well, yeah, these things happen to other people, usually, is what we think.
yeah. And I know that it can happen to us, me and my mom, my
Well,
love.
that's the difference between an intellectual understanding and an experiential understanding.
Well, yeah, yeah. Like it's just this thing of like, I was just talking to my husband about our trip to Mexico, our dream trip to Mexico in 2023, just a year when she turned 65, right? And this dream vacation to Mexico, we had such a blast, like such a blast. And there was no thinking that, oh, next year my mom's going to die. Like,
Of course.
not even in the beginning of the year of 2024. This just all happened literally like a week after my grandfather. Well, according to what we know, a week after my grandfather, her father, turned 90.
Right.
We had a party at her house.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she was like, installing ACs and she was doing the things. Like she wasn't slowing. She wasn't like, oh my God, I'm slowing down. No. Right. So it's shocking, and I don't want to like, how I am. I don't want to label trauma and this and that, but the reality is that I am still in a state of shock about it. Like I do feel the tension in my body, Now I'm catching it, I'm more conscious.
And what happens when you catch it?
Well, one, I'm very like, I get a little taken aback by how much gripping I'm doing. I was like, oh my God, like, damn, like a lot of gripping, like when I become conscious of it, I'm like, oh wow, how many hours was I like this, So it's a little bit of like, I'm just, I'm not shocked, but just a little taken aback by how tightly wound I've been, in my body. And this, that tightly wound feeling in the body was even before, my mom's whole experience. But once that experience happened, it was, woof,
Yeah.
gripped, that I'm still trying to loosen up here.
The flashbacks.
That tension in the body, but yeah, like the flashbacks, like it was like even yesterday with just talking to my husband about that trip to Mexico. And I'm like, I know, that it's not about age. It's not about like, well, this person appeared so healthy. Like, what's going on? Like, and this person that's like fucking themselves up, not pooping for 6 weeks is like totally fine. And I'm just like, I know it doesn't work like this. I know this. Fundamentally, conceptually, like I know. And that's why I'm not like hanging on to this, like, why did it happen to her? You know, it's not that kind of feeling, but then it's like this little light feeling of like, what the fuck? Oh my God. Like my mom passed away. Like, and you know, that energy, at least in this terrain, how I've been, that dynamic, my engagement with her is like no more in this terrain.
Right.
And then I think about the new connection and my intention coming out of this experience, moving through this experience, you know. And this is why I felt like I want this to be a source of inspiration, right? For me, to live well, you know, to live the fullest expression of myself here, right? And that's why I think that whole being on the board of trustees at my junior high school, like I felt so good. I felt in a flow because it felt very aligned with my mom being a source of inspiration, you know? I'm looking forward to the day, the moment where the goodbye, the flashbacks of her in agony and fear and resistance over what was happening is more neutral.
Well, it will be. That's the path you're on. And unless you consciously walk away from it, that's the trajectory. You answered the question earlier, that even with the flashbacks and even the emotion that they can engender here now in this moment, in this hour, are qualitatively not the same as they were 10 months ago. So if that's the case, then why would that not continue as long as you continue to do what you're doing? You're doing it. And you have intentions around this, which are critical and which are pulling you forward. That's what we were going to touch on from last time. So maybe
intention.
But you mentioned it right there. One intention, to be inspired by this, to reach a point in your life where you look back on your mom's passing, think about your mom no longer being here in physical form, and are inspired by it because of the growth that it engendered in you and what you learned as a result of it. And that's what you are doing. So that intention is helping to pull you forward, which is what the intention is for.
Yeah, it's like letting go of the limitations that she and I may have internalized, and gaining the things that I want to take with me from my mom. Like one thing about my mom that I really loved, and my dad has this too, is that while my mom may have had her resentments, you know, like her resentments or some things, you know, in life, she was never disillusioned. She was always like, oh no, life is good. Like there's, you know what I mean? She was never like, man, fuck my life. Like never like that. Now, yes, resentment, like fuck this guy, but like fuck this job.
We all got a few of those, right?
We got a little bit, you know, some of that going on, you know. However, I love the fact that she was never like disillusioned. And I was like, I want more of that, you know, like I want a little bit more of that because I can get a little.
So that's an intention too, to cultivate that. What's the antithesis of disillusion?
What's the antithesis of disillusion? Enthusiasm, optimism. So everything's working out for me.
So just based on those words, I know you have some intentions that cover that, and maybe it's time to revisit a few and, you know, make sure that what you're talking about, the opposite of disillusion, is built in to any or all of your intentions.
Yeah.
Just another example.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't I had a dream, I think it was in August, um, where I think I mentioned here that she was like in an office that was unfamiliar to me. And then I saw her like speaking to my aunt and stuff. And I was like, Ma, I was aware that she had passed away in the dream.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, Ma, is that you? Is that you? And she didn't really say anything to me directly, but she
Mm-hmm.
was just going along her merry way in the office, like she usually was at work, like just very like, you know? Um, and I felt good, afterward, like, it just made me feel like she's around
Mm-hmm.
and she's all right.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's how I felt after that. I haven't had anything like that recently, but what I have been seeing a lot of are rainbows.
Hmm.
And I mentioned how rainbows was like the first sign,
Right.
symbol that I received when I asked the universe when she first got her. They first found that mass in her pancreas.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, whoa, And I just asked God, universe, like, give me a sign that everything's going to be okay. And immediately, rainbow.
Yeah.
I saw a little rainbow in my glass of water. And for that to appear in the glass of water, it had to be really precise, like the sun.
Well, and for your attention to have
Yeah,
gone to it.
that
Exactly.
too. That too. Very important. And just seeing like for that that sunshine to hit, like you have to you already know, like my place in New York, that the kitchen is a little ways from the
Yeah.
window in the living room. And so the sun had to hit that, like
And
behind
so,
the
yeah,
counter,
it's not doing that all day long.
like right at the counter, it had to like hit to produce that rainbow. And ever since then, there have been a lot of rainbows this past month. A lot. Like in the most uh what's the word? Uh Unexpected places, you know?
Yeah.
So I'll take it. Happy thank more, please. More, please. Part of one thing about I want to say about the intention
Mm-hmm.
that I had, and I actually asked that death doula. I was like, and I don't really like to, I know it's not good. Well, I know that maybe it may not be the most appropriate thing to be like, is this okay for me to think this? Or
Is
for
this
me
what
to,
you're going to ask me, or that's what you asked her?
I think I may have asked you before, but I asked her again,
Okay.
right? And whether it was appropriate, okay for me to intend on having the type of connection with my mom in this state, in her non-physical state, to have the kind of connection with my mom that could even be deeper, more fulfilling than it's when she was here on earth.
Why wouldn't that be okay?
Um, I don't know why I thought it would, whether that would be okay or not. I don't know why I asked that, but I did.
Well,
uh,
it's a little different because we know for certain in our daily practice that we set intentions for ourselves, but we cannot intend
okay,
for
yeah.
others. So there's that piece, but you're dealing now with a different realm. You still, I don't believe, can intend for your mom, but I find it hard to believe that she wouldn't want to honor anything that you're desiring for yourself or to be part of it. But what do I know, right? But for you to say, there are different ways to language that. And, intentions are all about how we language, how we think about what we're wanting. So, eager to expand our relationship in this different way, and willing for it to go beyond whatever we had when we were both here in the physical.
Yes, that's what I was meaning, to go beyond. I actually,
and then you don't have to.
I was actually using usurp, but then I was like, that feels like I'm competing.
Yeah.
No.
So the way I just said it keeps it very general, and you're not micromanaging how that's going to happen.
Right. Like I didn't like. Right. Oh, so saying for that connection to usurp the kind of connection that I had here on earth, kind of,
or transcend.
Transcend.
Transcend is beyond what it was to something else, you know,
as opposed to being better, or
right. It's going to be different. That's sort of baked into the reality of it. It'll be different. The question is different how. Transcend and go beyond what we might have experienced when we were both in body. Because now we're going to have some time where one is in body and one isn't. Then we'll have time again where both are not. And I promise you, it will not be the same in every place.
Mm-hmm. You talked about this in the book, in An Extra Year.
Okay.
You mentioned how there's different types of ways to connect to the non-physical. Mm-hmm. Clairvoyance, and I forgot the terms, but there's ones where you can like speak to them, you can hear them, speak to them.
Clairaudience, claircognizance, clairvoyance, clairaudience.
Like
is that what you mean?
Yes, exactly. And how you actually were a little annoyed that you couldn't connect in that way that your friend, clairvoyant,
correct,
right, mm-hmm. Was able to connect to Deuter, right, and you were like, but then we found your way of connecting, right?
Yes.
And so I think I'm having a little bit of
welcome to the party. How can I help you?
I think I'm having a little bit of that, because I think about how my cousin, who his mom passed away in 2020, COVID, very unexpected, shocking kind of thing. And he said that like about 3 months after or so, like a couple of months after, that he would hear his mom's voice, and that he wouldn't really share that with people because they kind of looked at him like he was insane. So, but that he would hear her voice, you know, and when he told me that made me feel good. I was like, I don't think you're crazy. Keep telling me this stuff, because I like this. I'll take it. Like, that doesn't freak me out by any means. Because he was like, people get freaked out. I was like, I don't get freaked out. I want it. I want it. Okay. I want it. And I am like a little bit envious, because I'm like, I want to hear my mom, you know, like I want that sort of.
So again, to not try to micromanage it, because we don't know how it's going to happen. Yeah. So if I'm you in that moment, I really want the clairaudience. Think about what you would have then. Well, if I could hear her voice clearly and know for certain it's her, then I would have what?
Reassurance.
What else?
Connection. Connection.
And tell me more about connection. What do you mean by that?
Being able to connect with her divine presence, being able to communicate with the divine, which was my.
So that's your intention.
Picture. Yeah.
That's your intention. It transcends the one how that you're thinking of. Clairaudience gets you out of that mush and goes right to it. This is the intention of the intention. I really want to hear
unmistakable, right?
Yes. Okay. So do you hear what you're saying? These are all your intention. And I know it's not brand new, but time for a look-see and a refinement, perhaps.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And now that we're
Transcend as a word is great. Connecting with the divine.
Yes, with her divine essence now, as it is, as she is, as you know, and whatever it is today, she's continuing to grow and evolve and change, just like everything and everyone else. So that, again, all the more reason to keep this one general. If you ask me. So now that we're saying this, I'm remembering last time, I'm pretty sure we said, let's really revisit the next time. So next time.
Yes, let's do that.
Let's start with that.
Let's do that. Because because we mentioned that last time, I was going back to the intention. Like I was going back to it and
it's just our everyday practice. What are our intentions and where are we relative to them? If we're fully aligned, go live your life. If we're not, what do we have to do to get fully aligned, or at least more aligned than we are? That's just all day, every day. So let's start with that next time as a check-in, and just see where you are with regard to any of them in terms of alignment, which, if any of them, need to be fine-tuned or refined or changed for any reason, because we're allowed to change our minds with what we want.
One thing I just remembered, part of this whole experience last month, September. So when my mom was probably about a month, 3 weeks before she passed, right? She was in the throes of the illness and everything, you know. I remember we were in her house, and my husband was there. I was there. She was on the couch, and she was saying to my husband and I, to me and my husband, how she was seeing some shadowy figures. Right? And so like about 2 weeks ago, I saw this interview. Now, I heard about this before, right? So when my mom said that thing about the shadowy figures, that's when I was like, yeah, I think I'm maybe witnessing my mom dying. Right? I don't think I told you this, right? Before. Okay. So she saw the shadowy figures about 3 weeks before she ended up passing away. And my husband was like, and I was like, fuck. And I told my brother, you know, I was like, look, I read that when people start seeing the departed, shadowy figures, whatever, that's kind of a marker.
Telltale sign.
Yeah. And I was, you know, I was a little bit like, oh, I don't want to think about that. But then, you know, and so I saw this interview about 2 weeks ago with the hospice nurse who talked about this phenomenon that like a lot of people know about, you know, a lot of people who work in hospitals and hospice and all that stuff. They say that occurs quite a bit, you know, where they start talking to the departed, the shadowy figures.
When it was my partner, you know me, because I'm already tuned into the whole concept of the ongoing communication, and I'm pouncing all over him like, who are you seeing? What are they saying? What are they saying? Like I wanted to know details. It's like his grandmother and his brother and his, you know, I mean, he was clear about who they were.
Yeah.
But he was also at that point like, I'm out of here. He wasn't trying to hold on. He wasn't. But I could tell that he was
by then she was starting to, you know, so when I heard that in this interview, like about 2 weeks ago, that also brought up the whole goodbye thing and how at that time when, just when she said that, you know, the resistance in me was just like, fuck, man.
So the resistance in you then is that still exists in you today to that idea and this flashback memory of that, this is your time to work through that now. That's your opportunity now, as opposed to never, or as opposed to 15 years from now.
Yes. And how do I work through this?
You're doing it. You know, even though last year at this time, or even though I still think in these flashbacks about back and then, you know, there's a piece of that's still alive in me about that, because I didn't really want to fully take it in then, and I can take it in now. It's already happened.
Because we were like team health, you know.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
again, you know.
Yep. Nobody's a criminal. You're not a criminal. This is a common thing. So this is why I so appreciate your willingness to walk down this path, because as we walk down the path, we see what we still have to process from before. And for the very reasons you say, we're in team health. We're in team focus on mom, focus on mom, focus on mom. Oh yeah, I got some fear. I got some resistance, but I can't really fully deal with that now. And now you can. And it's just giving voice to it, just allowing it, not resisting it now.
Yeah.
That was then. You're still making sense of it today. That's what processing means. And there was a piece of it you couldn't quite make sense of then that's still active in you. So make sense of it now.
Yeah, because I just remember feeling like, oh shit, man. My mom is probably
right. So even though back then I was really resisting, and I still feel some of that resistance today, I'm choosing to let it go. And
is it resistance?
Well, it was then,
okay.
Right? So, and it's still a little bit left in you.
Like the feeling like, shit, man, my mom's dying.
And it's the flashback frame. You can just use that frame, even though I'm sort of having flashback energy. It's not quite like then, but back then I was resisting. I didn't want to deal with it. And I had reason not to, because I was focused on my mom. But here I am a year later, and there's still some of that there. So I'm just going to process it now and make sense of it now, because it made sense that I couldn't do it then, and I'm willing to do it now.
Yeah, because I just remember the time where I just kind of felt like I was surrendering to the idea of, I think my mom is dying.
Yes. Yeah.
I called you.
I remember.
Like 3 days beforehand. FaceTimed you from the park.
I remember, yeah.
And I was like, you know what, Steven? I don't see it from my mom, I'm ready for anything, And I was,
I know. Yes, you were. So the part of you that didn't get tended to because it was focused elsewhere can now be tended to, and it's not going to take forever, and there's no rush. I don't think it's going to take very long at all.
Yeah. It's like letting out the tears and
yes, all of it.
So I don't have to change any beliefs or anything about that. It's
not on this one.
Feel the feelings.
Yeah.
Okay.
And thank you. It's actually evidence that when we think we've put something in a box, yeah, where the hell is the box? It's not on a shelf outside of you. It's inside.
Yeah, that memory of the shadowy figures and how
yeah, because that's what communicated to you something that you were not thinking about, but it made it real. Is what it sounds like. Yeah.
Yeah. And I immediately told Michael, my brother, I was like, you know what? And then, he told me, because I shared with him that interview.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, remember when I told you that mom saw those shadowy figures? He was like, yeah, I remember. And I went home and looked it up on the internet. And that's when I was like, I think I need to prepare.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh gosh. Okay.
It's actually one of the things that people who experience loss through sudden death, here in 1 second, gone the next, lament that they didn't have the time. that you had to at
Yeah.
least process, you know, even if you didn't get to every little last bit of it for yourself at the time, but you were able to think about it and prepare. Like you just said, your brother had a little time to prepare, right? And so
Yeah, he was,
promise you.
that's what he told me. And I think that that's when I kind of turned the corner a
Yeah,
little
I
bit.
definitely, I would say it for sure was.
Yeah, it was like, I'm ready for anything,
Yeah.
you know. Thank you,
Yeah.
Steven.
You're
Covered a lot.
welcome. You're welcome.
As always, we cover a lot here. This process is not linear, folks.
It's not.
It's not linear, and is also well worth it. Doing this work,
Yeah.
but working this out.
We didn't come here to not have these experiences, which is another way of saying we came here to have whatever experiences we are having. As eternal souls, bright lights, always healthy, made of compassion, crammed into these little bodies, this dense energy on this dense planet.
Mm-hmm.
Like going to Disneyland, go have the adventure, stay for a couple days. At some point, you go home. That's all we're doing. And if you ask me, this work that we're doing, processing through with one another, is an example of what seems to me the basic idea that we're all just walking each other home.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Through work like this. So, brava, thank you, as always, for your willingness.
Yeah. I think for next time, because I think this is a good place to end. But just for next time, in addition to the intention work,
Yes.
I do, and I know we talked about this way earlier, you know, in our sessions.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mentioned this to my husband. I was like, you know, I don't know what it is, but like if somebody like dies in an accident, plane crash, you know, murder or something like that, you know, I don't know why that feels like I can wrap my head around that type of shocking death, right? More so than I can the idea of, you know, illness killing someone or someone dying from illness.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that, I think I still have some trouble in understanding that fully, you know. I think it just ties to this whole thing of I feel like we should be in charge of our bodies. You know, it's one thing, like we always have a say, you know, what we believe here, the soul.
Mm-hmm.
Is.
Well, if you're, excuse me, but if you're talking about the concept of being able, unless we're going to get run over by an asteroid or something,
Right.
taken out in some accident, that we should be able to maintain vibrant physical health all the time and not age and whatever. That is, you know, apparently some piece of what we're heading into in the new consciousness. So any of us who are oriented toward that today, we're really more like seed planting. You know, I don't expect this body coming in when it was created to last for centuries, but I expect that to happen in the future, that the whole system of human, whatever human we're going to evolve into, the physical body will not be something that's necessarily going to age and die.
Decline.
But
Well,
we're a little bit a ways from that, I think. And, you know, don't ask me about timing. But
and then also, do we really want that? Okay, but you know,
yeah, if I'm going to do that, I'm going to do it in a different body myself.
Yeah. So we don't really want that. However,
I
it
love my
is
body, by the way.
yes. And it's just something that came up for me. Again, I think it's tied to my things with health.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
and
For sure.
and
I was going to say, between now and next time, just think about beliefs. The beliefs for one kind of death versus
like I'm trying to work that out.
That's where the juice will be.
Yeah, I'm trying to work parse things out with that, because I was like, I'm still a little, you know, fixated on that idea, that manner in which people may pass away, right? Depart this plane with illness.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just like, padded room, safe space. Fuck
That's
that.
right.
That's how I feel.
Fair enough. Fair enough. No
But
judgment.
put a pin on that for next time. I'll just applying, living, aligning, applying, living, lining.
All right.
Thank you, Steven, so very much.
Thank you.
As always, this has been, you know, you've been of tremendous help in this whole experience. And you know my mom, and you talked to her when she was going through all of this stuff, you know?
I did.
So, you know, there's like an extra layer of connection there, you know? So I really appreciate all of that the ways in which you've showed up for myself, for my mom, and for everyone in our spiritual workout community. Really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Love you. So thanks, everyone. Thank you for joining us this week. We don't have these things occurring weekly. They're just kind of, you know, Steven's been so great in, you know, coming on board whenever I request. Pretty much whenever I need one, you know, on Wednesdays, you know, we let them like fall on Wednesdays. So I can't say when our next one will be, but you'll know.
We'll let you know.
Yeah, we'll let you know. We'll let you know. So thanks everyone who joined us, and we will see you the next time. Thanks everyone. Bye.
Bye for now.